not only want to just identify projects, we want to maximize the value of those projects by identifying additional funding sources, leveraging funding sources so we can do bigger projects, more meaningful projects. And at the end of the day, at the end of this process, what we're going to do is turn around and go back through the state to the NIFWIF, National Fish and Wildlife Foundation, and ask for funding for projects that end up in our swim plans. We expect Levy County would identify projects that will be encompassed in this plan, and we're going to be seeking funding to do those projects through this process. Our schedule for this project is shown here. We are in the May-June period. This is one of the initial stakeholder meetings. At this time, we're just going around and speaking with stakeholders and county commissions and informing them of what we're doing. We just finished a literature review of over 600 documents and studies and data on these water bodies in these counties, and we are now moving into the point where we're drafting swim plans for the Suwannee and the coastal river basins. We hope to have those done by the end of the summer. We will go back out for a series of meetings with the stakeholders on the draft plans. We'll have a chance to review those plans and comment on them. We'll finalize those by the end of the year and then go back to the state with a specific funding request in March of next year. Is there a question? Yeah.
What does GEBF stand for?
GEBF stands for the Gulf Environmental Benefit Fund. It's the funding source that's funding this project as well as projects that are identified in the plans. So, move up here. Just briefly want to talk about what's happened in these basins. Here's a map showing what was embodied in the coastal, what is embodied in the coastal basin. As I mentioned before, there were previously 3 plans that were going to roll into one plan. And they covered the Osceola River, the coastal rivers, which included Econtina, Fen Holloway, and Steinhatchee. I think we have a presentation on the Fen Holloway after mine here this morning. And the Wackasasa River. These are the goals that were in those previous plans. You can see there at the time we didn't know much about these rivers, so we data collection mode. We wanted to know where the greatest sources of pollution were coming from, where we could buy lands to protect the headwaters, and where any restoration was needed in terms of hydrology. As a result of those old plans, some projects were actually done. The Steinhatchee River had a project done back in the 90s to reduce peak flows, which were at the time thought to be harming oysters. Too much fresh water too soon. So this project involved holding back some water up in the headwaters and releasing it more slowly. And then the Fen Holloway River, which Chet Thompson's going to be talking about after me, an update on that. That was a long-term pollution source from a pulp mill, but with the state of Florida DEP, the pulp mill has been negotiated a water quality improvement plan to reduce the pollutant loads from that pulp mill, and you'll get more about that after I'm done. Okay, in the Suwannee Basin, there were 3 old plans: Alligator Lake, Santa Fe River, and Suwannee River proper. This graphic shows that study area. These were the goals. Again, collecting information back in the day. We didn't know a lot about these systems at the time. We know a lot more now. Identifying pollution sources, looking at intergovernmental coordination, alternatives for various things. A lot has been done in the Suwannee Basin. There's been a number of springs restoration projects that the district has appropriately funded. The Suwannee River also has been studied by the Florida DEP, and there is what's called a Basin Management Action Plan to address pollution in the river. The Suwannee River Partnership has been a very successful partnership between the district and agricultural interests in the basin, which they agree voluntarily to implement best management practices. And over 90% of the dairies in the basin have complied with this, and 65% are actually up to now. I think that's increased to 70% of row crops are are now voluntarily implementing best management practices. There's been additional wastewater treatment improvements in the basin, both in Bronson and Fanning Springs. And if you have a question?
I assume total maximum
Daily load.
limits?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
In terms of pollution, most of you probably know that we put fertilizers on our yards that includes mostly nitrogen and phosphorus, but we don't want that those elements in our water bodies. That causes a lot of problems. Algae blooms and dissolved oxygen to go too low so the fish can't live. So this is very difficult to see, but we have red dots, green dots, and clear dots. And this is a graphic of nitrogen in the Swanee River Basin. And what it really shows is that nitrogen is decreasing up in the headwaters. It's staying static in the middle region, and then it's increasing in the lower reaches. And so that, you would think, is potentially a concern. In the upper reaches, we have more timber. Best management practices have been implemented longer there. And the lower reaches, we have the receding waters of a lot of row crops and more intense agriculture. However, I should point out that we have a very unique geology in this portion of the state, in this portion of the southeast in general, where we have an aquifer that is virtually unprotected by clay or confined layers. So whatever gets put on the land surface finds its way into the groundwater, and it stays in there a long time, decades. Groundwater moves very slow. So even though we've been doing the right things in this basin, we've been implementing best management practices, it may take years to see these improvements. So the pollution that comes out of our springs and discharges into our rivers may represent pollution that occurred 10 years or more ago. So that's one of the management challenges in a geology such as this coast. Yes, ma'am.
And when you set the minimum levels of flow, and you have set those for the lower Swanee Basin,
Yes.
all those red dots on your papers have they minimum flows and levels set. And how does that affect, I mean, do the minimum flows and levels increase the nitrate pollution?
There's not really a direct relationship. Minimum flows and levels are developed. That's a separate state law to develop environmental flows so that there's enough fresh water entering the wetlands as well as the coastal zone to support resources. It's not directly linked to water quality. They're kind of two different parts of the regulatory world. There's a scientific relationship, but from a regulatory standard, they're really not that related. Maybe they should be, but they're not. So next steps, as I mentioned, we will finish our initial stakeholder meetings here next month. We will be back before you sometime in the end of the summer after you've had a chance to review the draft plans that affect Levy County. And with that, if there's information, Leslie Ames, her contact information is there from the district. We're assisting, my firm, Environmental Science Associates, is assisting the district in getting these plans written and funding. So with that, I'll end the entertain questions from the board.
Doug, are there going to be any local stakeholder meetings held in Levy County?
No. We've had a number. We had 4 stakeholder meetings held last week at the Swanee District in Live Oak. That included government, agriculture, environment, and Big Bend coordinating.
And then we'll also have 2 public meetings in June, general open public meetings for each basin. And for the Swanee River Basin, the meeting will be at our headquarters in Live Oak. And then for the Coastal Rivers Basin, we'll be meeting at the in Perry at the Northern County Commission. And hopefully soon we'll have a website on our webpage up that has all this information and meeting locations. We're working on getting that this week.
Just in closing, really the swim plans are really project-driven plans. So we are really out there asking stakeholders two things. What are your resource needs? What do you see as environmental and water resource problems within your jurisdictions? And what are good project ideas? We have, like I mentioned, an unprecedented opportunity now with the various sources of funding. I'm working with Commissioner John Meeks on the Gulf Consortium, which is looking at these same issues from the Restore Act side. This is a little different. But all these programs have the same thing in common, is we're looking for projects that make meaningful differences in our communities. So any ideas that you can pull together from your board and your citizens, that would be helpful to us. Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Leslie.
Thank you.
Any questions? I guess we should ask before you sat down, Mr. Cannon.
How much funding is available? That depends on the project, I bet, but I mean, the non-profit organization that you mentioned, how much does that get?
I have another slide, it's not in this show, that shows the breakdown of what Florida received in terms of its settlement with the oil spill. But it's over $4 billion when you add up the various sources, between the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation, various pieces of the Restore Act, the economic settlement, natural resource damages. When you add it all up, it's about $4 billion. And so that goes through a lot of different trails, going through different agencies, but they really have common themes for most of the kinds of projects we want to get done. So that's a big chunk of money that we've never had before.
We didn't have such an.
We didn't have an oil spill before either, and that wasn't good. I agree with that.
For the next one, can be sure of that one.
Something to keep in mind is it allows us to take the money that we've been allotted and leverage against the money that the state has available. And potentially double.
That's what I mean, how much have we been allotted?
We have been allotted 580 million in pot one, no, 580. How much is pot one?
Pot one, I think.
Keisha's got it.
I just want to give you the right number.
For the state.
For Restore, yeah.
For statewide.
How much?
That was on your slide.
Do you want to know what Levy County
What
got
is
then?
Levy County getting?
Well, for the state, BP was fined over $20.8 billion, and then Levy County is going to get approximately $2 million over the 15-year from BP, and we have $548,000 right now.
That's
That's pot one.
And then
Correct.
the pot three money.
Pot three, about 14 million now.
We got that.
Yep. And then if you take those two sources and figure, we've got other money out there too that you can leverage to double that. So I mean, Levy County could be looking at, through the Restore Act and NIFWIF, $30–40 million. This is substantial.
Just to use right here.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Mr. Chipperfield.
Just something for y'all to keep in mind. I live in Fanning Springs where they're expanding the sewer system. And one of the limited resources up there is some of the residents' ability to pay that bill for the rest of their lives. It may be free to put it in, but the bill keeps coming forever. And the city loves it.
This is economic.
And
This is natural
I
resources.
realize that we need to keep, I like clean water good as anybody, but the city doesn't seem to mention to y'all that some of the residents have a hard time paying that bill. And we're probably not gonna make it the live vote to the meetings, and I just wanna put it out there.
Noted.
It is something to consider. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Doug? Thank you. Oh, Eric.
So there's a meeting set in stone, is there any chance of having one of those meetings here in Lee County?
Glenn Horvath with the district is here. Glenn, you wanna-
I mean, that's always possible, Terry, to do that. We had not planned one. We tried to, one of the things we wanted to do was come here and speak to the county commission, so there was opportunity for the commission as well as the citizens to know about this particular project and what some of the things the district is doing. And then when we had that, by SWIM law, we're required to have 2 public meetings, one in each watershed. And so as we looked at the different places, the district seemed like a logical place for the Swanee. And as we looked at it, it seemed like Perry was a logical place for the coastal rivers. It's not saying we can't do it, we just do not have it in our plans and do not have one budgeted now. And I think if the commission desired one, we possibly could do that. So,
We desire one.
I wanted to say, stop design. We're always
see what we can do.
Thank you.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Paula Sprague.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm coming to you this morning, as I have just about every year that I've done this program. Before I didn't do it, Ms. Tony Collins did it. I come to you requesting a letter from the board, supporting our Crime Stopper program. Today, my heart's real heavy. I come to you letting you know that we are no longer doing our Crime Stopper program for Lee County. We have been asked, and we are supportive. I've been with the sheriff in meetings that Alachua County has offered to pick up our program. Alachua County has already picked up Gilchrist County and working with the sheriff, Bobby Schultz, over there very close. Alachua County will do the same with our program. And as I said, I've been doing this since 1998. And this will be my last. We just finished up our last grant at the end of June will be it. I'm still going to try to be with Alachua County just as a board member, not in any capacity of the board anymore because of health reasons. But I'm still going to hang in there with that one. I'm asking the commission to please allow Alachua County to pick up Levy County and work with them.
Ms. Cannon.
Mr. Chairman, what happens if Levy County is no longer doing it?
Levy County will still be doing it, okay? The program's not going away. The program will still be run by Alachua County. It's not costing our county any money. They're not, losing anything. We'll still be putting the Crime Stopper program out there. They will still be working with the sheriff and the sheriff's law enforcement officers. Anything they need in the way of Crime Stoppers, they will be doing that for them.
Ms. Paula's not able to manage it anymore, I think is the problem. Her health is.
And at this point right now, we only have 4 board members left that have Miss Sally's one of them, and it's just at a point that we can't do it anymore.
Is that a volunteer organization?
Yes,
I
ma'am.
see.
All volunteer.
Appreciate your service.
The thing is that they're gonna do everything with our sheriff's department, just like I was doing, other than they're gonna do the work and not me. And that's what I'm coming and asking for the letter for Alachua County to do this, to support Levy County in this program.
For the grant, what kind of money are you talking about?
In the grant, last year there was $5,700. I don't know what the amount for the coming year because we did not apply for it yet. They will apply for it and do all the work in applying for it.
But the amount, it has
It's
seen a
dwindled
reduction
down. Yes,
every
it
year.
has. It's gone down every year, yes. At one year, we only had like $4,600, but we made do with what we had.
Ms. Sheffield, where does the grant money come from?
It comes from the courts in, like if someone gets a fine, there's a percentage of that goes to the Crime Stopper program. If somebody gets arrested and they have to pay any kind of fines, there's a percentage of that goes. But it's a very small percentage because all the hands are in the pot. The pot doesn't get very much from, our respective salary.
We had a problem some years ago. We realized that we weren't getting as much money as we should have in this county because so many cases were being let out before they went into the court.
They did a pretrial intervention and the money doesn't come to the courts like they should. And,
The clout will have more clout with a larger group like Alachua to get more money in this area than we had as a small group by ourselves.
And that's the thing, if, supporting by Alachua County, Gilchrist County, their program has started getting more, not only the phone calls, but more support from the public, not even coming. Now, to give you an example, we had a crime here in Levy County. We put up a reward. That reward set not being picked up for 2 years. They never come and picked it up. Because a lot of folks just don't want the money, they're doing the good thing, or the good deed. But sometimes, when you pay out those monies, they do come and get them. But it's very rarely, and it's not just with our program, it's with the bigger programs too. But we feel, as Sally said, Alachua County is going to help the smaller counties like us, and like Gilchrist, they really help, and we feel that they're going to be a help to them. And that's why I come and ask if the board would support this for Alachua County picking up Levy County and the support.
The chair will entertain a motion. We have a motion by Ms. Lilly.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Joyner. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, sending the letter of authorization to allow Alachua County to represent Levy County and Crime Stoppers, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
So,
Yes, sir.
been knowing you a long time, you were dispatching, I was back and forth. Been there a long time, so we appreciate your dedication.
Well, even after I retired, I stayed with the program, and the sheriff's been there supporting me with it. And I just want to say thank y'all for your support.
It's been my pleasure working with you.
Thank you. Mr. Sheriff, do you have something you want to
I'd
add?
just like to thank Paula and Sally and all the board members for their dedication and what they've done over the years with the Crime Stoppers program. And Paula is exactly right. They're going to continue. I guarantee you they haven't invested their time and efforts into the program. They're going to monitor it and be a part with Alachua County. And it is right. It's so many good deeds are done. The Crime Stoppers program does work. We do get the tips. A lot of people, most people don't pick up the money, but it is a good program, and it supports law enforcement in the county, and especially the sheriff's office with what it's done. I just wanted to thank them.
Thank you, sir.
Is that exclusive of that 800 number? That's the whole program, the 800 anonymous crime stopper program?
The 800 number will stay for Levy County.
And that is the program.
That's part of the program. That's not the program.
We do a lot of work trying to keep the word out about Crime Stoppers, beginning with our sheriff's deputies and the school system. And
we have also web tips, and we have computer tips that come in. It's not just phone calls. We have school resource Sergeant Max Long. He handles all of our web tips and stuff that come in like that. And we have a school program that's there in the schools, And that will still continue in the schools, because even though the children do not receive rewards, please understand that. The kids do not receive rewards when they give tips, because we, as a program, you know, most of your state school programs don't give rewards. I think there's only one in the state that gives students rewards for doing the tips, and that's at Miami-Dade, and they have a real problem with weapons. But most of the school, you know, I say all of the schools don't. Our school program, there is posters on the walls in the lockers. There's posters over all the lockers, so it is told about in our schools. Plus, we also give out brochures around the county. We feel that going with Alachua County, when we have activities like the Watermelon Festival and the 4th of July, we can give out more information about our program, not only with their support and their fundings, for trinkets like, you know, pens, pencils, and those kind of things. So that's what we look to trying to get more of here in Lee County.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Barney Bennett. It should be Barney Bennett, but it says Barney Barnett.
Both on.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Bill Henderson.
Bill Henderson,
Bill Henderson.
we're gonna tag team a little bit. Good morning, I am Bill Henderson, I'm with the Florida Department of Transportation, I work out of the Lake City office, and we are here for a couple reasons today. First of all, this is kind of our yearly visit when we present our tentative work program on what we got planned, and often wanting to solicit your priorities for transportation projects for Levy County, and answer any questions you may have. Secondly, Barney's going to get up and talk briefly. I want to introduce Barney Bennett. He's with the Rural Planning Office. He's going to talk about the Scrap and Scott program a little bit and some of the changes or improvements we're going to make to that program. And I also have Mr. Ryan Asmus with me. He's pretty much our head designer. He oversees almost the bulk of all our design efforts in the whole 18-county district. And he's going to do a short presentation on the C Street Bridge in Cedar Key, which, as you know, we've been kind of working on that for a while. I think we've got a good solution to it, and then Ryan's going to talk about that briefly. And Barney, I'm going to let you go first.
Barney Bennett with the Florida Department of Transportation. And yeah, Bill said I did want to talk briefly, very briefly, about just two things. One is the Scratch Stop and Safety Program, as well as the Sun Trail Program. On Scratch Stop and Safety, those are the programs that we provide grant money where cities and counties can resurface streets and pave dirt roads and so on. We're having an issue with those projects being underfunded and not being able to complete them in a timely manner. So on new projects going forward, we're going to look at those projects a lot more closely before we program them and provide the money and the funding for them. We're going to vet them better internally with DOT personnel, and we're really looking for lower risk projects that we can get on the ground in a timely manner. It's going to save us time, it's going to save the county time, and so on. Also, when we look at the projects, we look at the county ranking of the projects, their priorities, but we're also looking at projects in terms of safety, preservation, and capacity. Safety is number first. We're running crash data on all projects now. We want to look at preservation next. We need to preserve existing paved roads and then look at new capacity as far as paving dirt roads. Part of the initiative where in years past we've asked for a list of priority projects as well as an application. We are going to start doing a web-based application where you can put in an application for a project. You don't have to put in what program it's under. Just give us your request for a road. We will figure out which program fits best under. If the project's selected, great. If it's not selected, the project stays in there. You don't have to reapply for it again the following year. It'll just stay in the queue. And in theory, anyway, once it's going, you'll be able to then go onto this website, look at the project, see where it is, and see if it didn't get funded, if it did get funded, or if it's just kind of what we've seen. Last January, we held a summit to go over these programs. Tentatively, in the fall in October, we're going to have another summit to get the folks that are really kind of hands-on with the projects. to look at the website, look to see how the applications are put in, and kind of bring us forward in technologies as far as these projects go. So that's all I have on scratch cop and safety. Any questions there?
Ms. Cannon?
Mr. Shannon, the gentleman said, safety first, preservation second. I would venture to say County Road 347 would qualify for that by a huge amount. It fits into US 129, and Lord God, I don't know how many more patches they would be physically able to apply to that road. Sir, but I would like to give my commendation to what you said, that once it is applied for, it will remain there, and one doesn't have to reapply every year. That, as long as, and it will hopefully be up to this board to remind you that it's in there and to look at it regularly until it comes to fruition. So what can you tell me about our chances for 347?
347.
347. I don't see it on here. I know we applied for it again this year.
Yeah, I just applied for it this year, Mr. Bennett.
All right.
345 and 347, I just applied for them this year.
It's like one of these programs he's talking about, or one of these projects he's talking about. It was on the list, or we had applied for it,
Yes.
and then it went away, and nobody really knows why. So I'm glad that there's now going to be a process that once a road is on there, it stays in their queue.
Well, we'll get a formal disposition for projects, because that happens not just here, but everywhere where the project is applied for, time goes on, county commission changes, internally we change, and suddenly the project's kind of disappeared. And we're gonna do better. We need to do better, we're going to do better.
Yes, ma'am.
When will the web-based system be up?
In theory, it should be in early fall. I've seen the first version of it, and I am truly unimpressed with it. It needs to be improved greatly. It's being worked on right now. In fact, as we speak, it's being worked on. Any other questions? Just really quickly on Sun Trail, I don't know if y'all have heard about the Sun Trail program, but it's a statewide program. $50 million is available in 2017 and $25 million per year thereafter. However, the funding for this trails go to very specific trails. The Coast to Coast Trail gets the majority of the funding. The St. Johns River Sea Loop gets the majority of the funding, which doesn't affect Levy County at all. As you really trickle down, really the only trail system that is affected in Levy County is when you look at the Nature Coast Trail that comes down through Trenton, continuing south of Trenton is the only trail system in Levy County that would apply for this funding. We would certainly not discourage the county from putting in a request for that project. However, realistically, when you look at the entire statewide list of projects, it's very unlikely that it would be funded. So again, I won't discourage you from putting in an application. However, there's a phenomenal amount of competition for those funds. I mean, a phenomenal amount.
Our project would be on a snowball outside today.
If you did not put in for it at all, that's the only way you could have a lower chance of getting put in. So again, I won't discourage you from putting it in, but if you'd like to, I will certainly process it for you.
The answer's always no till you ask.
Exactly. That's all I have.
Thank you. Shannon, you know what the password is? For sure.
While Barney's getting ready, Ryan's getting ready, if y'all have any questions for the department, feel free to call us anytime, either Barney or me or Ryan. If you have any questions at all, please, let us know.
Good morning, my name is Brian Asmus, with Florida Department of Transportation. Thank y'all for allowing us to come and present to you today. I think we've got a very good solution for you. We came for the board and for the community several times and talked about different options. The project right now is about to move from our environmental planning stages into our production stages. So what's important to us is to get y'all's support for this project. It's been a very challenging project. We know that the concerns out there have been to raise the existing bridge at C Street 4 feet, and to also accommodate the businesses out there that are trying to maintain access and keep that access open. We brought in specialists to look at it, and they have found an option for us that where we can try to maintain both. So the department has done their homework. We try to do the very best that we could to try to accommodate all the concerns that are out there. So the projects that we have ongoing right now are, we have 3 projects, Lewis Pass and Daughtry Bayou, currently planned to let in 2017. Progress is going good. We're in the right-of-way phase right now. We're looking at getting the PCEs that we need to get to be able to build the temporary bridges. Those projects are moving along very well. And then C Street. C Street, the current plan for C Street is a let date in 2019. So a little facts on the existing bridge. It was built in 1964. We've got a 17-foot travel lane one way. We've got a 5-foot sidewalk on one side, an 8-foot sidewalk on the other, and then 2 parking lanes. The existing vertical clearance out there with our mean high is 7 3/4 feet, and then existing bridge rating is 46.0, which is requiring replacement. So these are the different options. We've been through a lot of different options. All total, there's 13 of them, and we've got various times, we've got various costs, and the option that we think that we've come to and want to present to you today is this 8A. That's our new option. So what that option looks like is, instead of providing the 4, we can't provide 4 without shutting the road down. And we understand that's been a concern for businesses out there. But what we can provide is 3, and that's using that existing earthen plug that's out there and maintain traffic. What you see in the background there is the existing bridge is the gray. The proposed bridge is the brownish gold. So environmentally, there's benefits to it too. You see the opening is much larger, and again, you gain an additional 3 feet of clearance versus what was requested before. So it's a good compromise. This is what the existing bridge is going to look like. This is your typical. So instead of having a 5-foot sidewalk, now we're going to have 2 6-foot sidewalks. We'll have 2 8-foot parking lanes, and then maintain the same 17-foot one-way travel lane through. This is our MOT lane. So this is using that earthen plug that's out there on the end. What we're going to do is maintain the existing traffic one way. There won't be parking on the bridge. It's a temporary bridge. There will be a temporary sidewalk that's built attached to the existing bridge, or the proposed detour bridge that we built. But that's maintaining the flow through there one-way direction, and access will be all the time. What that allows us to do allows us to build the bridge. There's some of the options that we considered was moving the bridge to different locations. This allows us to build the bridge back in the same footprint that it's in, 3 foot higher, and again, the spans will be a little bit longer, so that the opening space now underneath is going to be a lot bigger. So that's really all we had. We just wanted to come and present where we are with it, and again, look for y'all support on this option. We've got a lot of different options and alternatives that we've considered, and so we're just hoping that we can get it into the design shop and move it ahead.
Property. The other plans required taking people's property. That one little piece, did you check that out?
Our mappers are currently investigating that right now. So as far as the department stance, from what we understand currently, we don't need any property from anybody else to build this option. And that would only be a temporary construction easement for when we're bringing the bridge back around on that hotel side.
I think this plan is a win for everyone, the county, the city, the community, the business people, the voters. And I like like that y'all went back and researched that. The businesses can stay open, the voters can get in and out. I like that.
Ms. Kent?
Mr. Chairman, is a 3-foot higher elevation that you mentioned sufficient? Or, I understand the compromise, but I mean, 2 years from now, they come back to you and say, oh, it's silted in again. You know what I'm saying?
There's always the outside boat ramp option if your boat's taller than what can fit in the marina. I think this option will currently handle all the traffic that's going in and out of the marina now that struggles at times.
And one more thing, why of all things would you increase the width of the sidewalk from 5 feet to 6?
ADA.
What?
ADA. Americans with
Oh, I
Disabilities
hear
Act.
you.
Disabilities for
Then
wheelchairs.
I understand, okay. And barring the next Katrina hurricane, by the way, would that proposed bridge withstand a hurricane on the scale of a Katrina?
They are designed to withstand hurricanes.
There'll be nothing else there but the bridge. Yeah, the bridge and the dock.
No, next time to withstand hurricanes, I should hope so. But I mean, on the housing, we have to have 125 winds minimum. So give me some exact numbers. Would it, don't evade me, would it withstand the Katrina type hurricane?
Yes,
Okay, that's what I want to know.
Yes, ma'am.
It would?
Yes.
May the Lord bless you.
I don't think there'll be anything else left.
That's right. There will be a need for a bridge, but
It'll be a landmark.
And thank you for keeping it in 2019.
yes, ma'am.
Mr. Sheffield?
Just wondering about the height of the temporary bridge.
The height of the temporary bridge is going to match the existing bridge.
Yes, sir.
I'm curious about some further explanation. It's my understanding that when there will be tie-ins, what is commonly referred to as tie-ins in the construction process. And during these tie-ins, it will require some closure, complete closure of Dock Street. Number one, is that correct?
Hang on, state your name for the record.
I'm sorry, my name is Adam Henderson.
So you're talking about the tiebacks that they're going to put.
Tieback, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there will be times that the road will have to be shut down, but it'll be just like a standard lane closure. So it'll be shut down just for maybe a couple hours till the work is done, and then they will do their best to make sure that traffic can still move through the area like a standard maintenance traffic operation. So it may be that they don't need all the space. It'll just be a short duration. It's not going to be a permanent closure.
Similar to what happened when we were out there fixing. It was closed for short periods of time.
When the permanent bridge is tied in at the end, over by where the Captain Stable building is, where the county dock is, that tie-in procedure will only last for how long do you anticipate it lasting when you actually tie in the permanent final bridge out of that end of it?
The access will be maintained. That is more of a construction related question, and that's all dictated by contractor means and methods. We just set a construction duration for what they can build that project within, and then they choose how they do it.
One of my concerns was to make sure that it wasn't shut down. Because we want the business to continue. We know how important that is to you all.
As well as safety, to have access for emergency vehicles or anything else. If the road is closed, you only have one way in. That's a bad situation.
As part of our contract time, we'll coordinate with the community down there for the events, and that'll be something that will restrict that can't work during those events. So there will be access during the events when we shut down.
do y'all have a timeline as when those potential closures might occur as far as
At
what
this
time
time,
of year?
No, sir. As we move ahead with the plans, as it comes into the design shop, we'll get a better handle on that.
How long is construction?
That's not set yet. I could give you a rough estimate of probably about 3 years. But the exact days, we normally work that out when we have our plans at 90% complete, and they're not even close to that yet.
Thank you.
Again, one of the disadvantages of using the temporary bridge is the longer term construction. He's being real pessimistic for 3 years. It's probably gonna be less, unless a hurricane comes, and then. But he's being safe, saying
I'm being
3
very
years.
cautious. We can build a bridge in less than a year. So, it's a bridge like this.
But you are adding that temporary bridge and the special time, that's gonna add some construction time that we normally don't see.
Any more questions? Thank you very much.
And, we will be going back to Cedar Key with the public meeting probably this summer, presenting this stuff, and maybe we'll have some more information.
Mr. Scott Mixon.
Thank you all.
If you don't have any questions, y'all know how to get hold of us.
I know how to get on Mr. Barney. I think he's gonna change his number.
Do you have another copy of the 5-year plan? Actually, 2. She's gonna want one as well. Women stick together, you know.
Thank y'all for coming.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can we buy Casey some cards, Alice?
I have him cards, he forgets to bring them with him. You know, we grow them up, fit in school.
I'm just waiting on somebody to show firm.
So while we're waiting on that,
But nobody had slides, so.
so while we're waiting on that, my name is Scott Mixon. I'm with the Foley Cellulose Mill in Perry, Florida. I manage public affairs, and with me today is Chet Thompson, who is our Finn Holloway water quality project lead. And we've got the guy right here.
Oh, yeah. Man of the hour. Right here. Boom.
There we go.
Thank you.
All right.
Just right there.
Right person.
And to the next board.
Yeah, you was there with us.
So we're here today to, thank you, sir. Yes, sir. So we're here today to provide some information. We are neighbors and we share a coastline together. We're also considered economic partners of yours. We purchase over 54,000 tons a year of wood that is processed into the products that we produce at Georgia Pacific's Foley Cellulose Mill. So thank you, first of all, for allowing us to come this morning. And the things that we want to talk about, two, one, what is the Foley Cellulose Mill? Just an update on just an update for everyone on what we do there. And two, information about the Finn Holloway Water Quality Project and the improvements that we're making in the mill. First of all, we're owned by Koch Industries. Koch Industries owns Georgia Pacific. Within Georgia Pacific, there is a division that's called GP Cellulose. GP Cellulose has several mills in the south, one at Brunswick, one at Alabama River, one at Leaf River, and then us, Foley Cellulose in Perry, Florida. 69% of our sales revenue that's generated by our cellulose division comes from North America, and we provide our products throughout the world. We operate 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. We have over 500 employees. We have a union-based United Steelworkers system in place, and we support more than 1,500 workers. We manufacture cellulose for technically demanding markets worldwide. That's high purity specialty paper absorbent products. Many folks in the region still believe that we're a paper mill. We produce high quality fibers from cellulose, which comes from slash pine trees. And we produce over 465,000 metric tons of it every year. And it goes into many products that we all use every day. Baby diapers, automotive filters, baby wipes, clothing, food products. A lot of us like ice cream. Well, cellulose can be found in some of our brands of ice cream that we may consume every day. It's in automotive tires, it's in shampoo, it's in filters, acetate paper. And if all we did was produce cellulose and make a profit, then we wouldn't be a very good company. So we give back to our community in 4 areas: education, environment, the enrichment of our community, and entrepreneurship. So that's a little bit about the Foley Cellulose Mill. The real reason we're here today, as I mentioned earlier, is we're here to tell you a little bit about the Finn Holloway Water Quality Project, where we are, and our plans for the next 5 to 6 years. Many believe that the Finn Holloway project consists of just a pipeline, but it's much more than that. The improvements that we make in the mill and have made in the mill are a much greater part of that project, which determines the makeup of the effluent that will flow through that pipeline. So I'd like to introduce Chet Thompson, who is the Finn Holloway Water Quality Project leader, and he'll take you through some of the points of that project.
Thank you very much for a chance to speak, and just an opportunity to give you an update on the status of the project. It's actually one that the site has been working on for a long time, and I personally have been working on for a long time. I've been at the site for 29 years, and I actually have worked on this project for 23 of those 29 years, and I hope before I retire we'll have this restoration effort finished, and so I want to give you that update. But first of all, let me give you some kind of background on the river and the facility location, so that kind of give you a reference. And first of all, the Finn Holloway is a small blackwater river that originates in what's called the San Pedro Bay. And the San Pedro Bay is that northeast corner of Taylor County, spans up into Madison County, runs down into Lafayette County, and it's the drainage basin for not only the Ecofina River, but the Finn Holloway in the center, and drains into the Steinhatchee also, depending on how you draw the lines for the San Pedro Bay. It's actually about 100 foot in elevation on that northeast corner of Taylor County, and it drives those coastal river basins, and that's why they're blackwater streams. This is a small blackwater stream, not largely driven by springs like many of our rivers in the area. It is in essence driven by swamp runoff from the San Pedro Bay. Finn Holloway is 36 miles long, runs down into Appalachia Bay. Most of us think of it as just the beginning of the Gulf of Mexico. And the pulp mill is located on River Mile 25. So if you were to begin paddling up the Finn Holloway from the mouth, when you reach 25 miles, you run into the mill. And of course, there's an additional 11 miles up above the mill in the way it's divided up. The mill was constructed there in 1952 by Procter & Gamble, and we have run continuously since 1954 when the mill started up. And when Procter & Gamble built that mill in 1952-4 and started it up,
pulp mills do produce wastewater, and that wastewater has been discharging to the Finn Holloway River and running down the Finn Holloway River since 1954. And so, just background information. How we got there was even part of the decisions around the Finn Holloway River. In 1947, the Florida State Legislature designated the Finn Holloway River for industrial use to attract manufacturing. Post-World War II, they were trying to generate business development. Taylor County was actually designated as a center of manufacturing and trying to attract manufacturing to the site. And that, in fact, is what attracted, at that time, Procter & Gamble to build that pulp mill and start it up and start that industry in the area. It was the previous site of a sawmill business, the Brooks-Scanlon sawmill. I think that was on my previous slide, but we've long been in silviculture, but this was a new area of silviculture because of basically cutting out a lot of the old timber and all during the pre-World War II time frame. And so that's how we went on for a while, but as time goes on, as rightfully, we start expecting more of ourselves as far as the quality and of our waters and air and those type things. And so in 1994 and early 1990s, the Florida Department of Environmental Protection worked extensively with Procter & Gamble at that time to say, how can we raise the designation of that river? When I say raise the designation, all waters in the state of Florida are designated for different uses, whether it be recreation or for drinking water supply or for industry, as in this case. But in 1994, they said we needed to move all water bodies, and Finn Holloway being the last, to at least recreation. And they determined that it could meet recreational standards if certain in-mill processes were changed, there was some headwater restoration done, and then there was finally a relocation of the discharge. One reality we've got to face is that recreational standards for saltwater are not the same as they are for freshwater. And you go swimming in Swanee, you go swimming on the coastal beaches, you know that the water quality is not the same, but both can be equally good for recreation. And so there was a determination that there needed to be a relocation of our discharge because our wastewater could meet marine standards, but could not, saltwater standards, but could not meet the freshwater standards in the upper Finn Holloway. And so there was a pipeline, and frankly, that's been a center of controversy for many years, and we understand that. I've worked with it for many years. But that classification went in effect in 1997. From 1995 to 2014, based on a delay by EPA, intentional delay by EPA in 1998, the mill and EPA and DEP worked on many alternative analyses, continued to make changes in the mill to reduce the discharge of what was happening where the mill is today, but did a reevaluations of different options, and then finally culminated in that report that was previously referenced in the other presentation by the Water Management District of an effluent study that said this is the answer that we're moving forward with. And so in finishing it, we resolved what we believe all the issues were. And so a short time ago, in early 2014, a renewed operating permit was issued to the pulp mill, and that renewed operating permit included an administrative order that requires the mill to complete 3 major projects over a 7-year schedule. Right? And the 3 major projects was to complete one last in-process change called the #1 brownstock washing system upgrade by March of 2016. Right? It is also now to do a major remodification, a major modification of our wastewater treatment system, and included in that is pilot plant studies to verify what we're going to do. And then last in the process is still a relocation of the discharge. It's still a pipeline in the required process, and that's got to be done by March 2021. Just real quick, pulp mills have to clean contaminants away from the product after removal of the lignins and the things associated with wood, when we're processing wood, we used to have a 3-stage washing process. We've just gotten through spending $17 million in improving that process by adding 2 additional stages. What you see in red there is what's been added for that $17 million. We started that process up back in October of last year. We did a verification of the process here at the beginning of this year, and of course we met that compliance schedule of March 2016. So step 1 of the 3 steps required of us has just been completed. And we're now moving to the second step, and that is an upgrade of our wastewater treatment system. That's an aerial that you see on the slide that's of our existing wastewater treatment system. It's 150 acres of effluent treatment lagoons. All right, that system has to be significantly upgraded. This has been in existence since the late 1970s, and we are in the process right now of doing pilot plant studies in order to demonstrate to ourselves and the state of those upgrades that are going on. And beginning next year, we will begin constructing a modified wastewater treatment system that will improve the quality of our discharge that's being discharged today. And then the last part of the project is, as I mentioned, that relocation of the discharge. It does involve a 15.3-mile long pipeline, and that is the objective. Doesn't improve the quality of the effluent at all. What it does is it removes the effluent that is not compatible with freshwater standards, but is compatible with saltwater standards. It moves it out of the freshwater portion of the river down to the lower part of the river. It's still within the river. It's still 1.5 miles up from the mouth. There is no new effluent getting to the mouth by this pipeline. The effluent flows down the river today. It's a matter of just bypassing a portion of the river. There will be no new effluent going out of the mouth. And this, in fact, is an improved quality of what's going out of the mouth. And that construction will occur in 2019 and 2020. Must be completed by order by March of 2021. And of course, our goal is to support recreational water quality standards in the Finn Hallway. That's the reason the company is investing millions of dollars in order to accomplish this. I'll entertain questions now.
I'm gonna let Ms. Lilly go first.
Well, that's what I wanted to know, is where you're going to be relocating this to.
1.5 miles up from the mouth of the river. It's still within the river itself.
Going into the Gulf.
Yes, ma'am. It runs down the river to the Gulf today, and I will say it's reduced from when we started this process in 1994. When I joined the project, we were discharging almost 50 million gallons of wastewater. Today, we're less than 40. Today, we've made significant improvements, but it still all flows down the river and ends up in the Gulf of Mexico today, and will in the future.
Wasn't there one time the pipeline, wasn't it supposed to be like 8 miles into the Gulf?
Never has been. I know we've been.
I mean, wasn't that what was being talked about at one time?
No, ma'am. Never looked at a offshore discharge. I know there has been times where folks have said we were doing that, but that was a misunderstanding of any proposal. It's always been in that lower part of the river.
So, just to make this clear,
right?
We're not cleaning up the water. We're just moving it further down the pipeline.
If you look at the pipe by itself, and you said this was only a pipe project, you're absolutely right. But if this is only a part of a holistic program where we have already spent
treated it at
absolutely significant load reductions already, we'll complete additional load reductions and improvements, and so it is only the final piece of a significant larger water quality improvement. If we had just started in 1994 and said the only thing we're going to do is relocate absolutely correct.
And the only real reason for the pipeline is the salinity of the effluent after all of those water treatment improvements have been implemented. So we're moving it out of the river to the mouth where it's more
Higher
contaminated.
saline content.
Our highest, what's called dissolved solids, are sodium chloride and sodium sulfate. And amazing enough, as we do water conservation, that 10 million gallon per day reduction, you actually make the concentration higher, you're more salty. And so many times, many of the conservation and improvement efforts actually move you the wrong direction from trying to stay in the freshwater. And that was much of the study that was done with EPA and with DEP in that 10-year period where we were restudying alternatives. So.
Yes, ma'am.
Why was the EPA involved? This is a state water.
It is, but
President Obama wasn't in office then.
The Gulf of
This is
Mexico.
executive overreaches, okay?
I'll let him answer that question, but I got my, the involvement with the Gulf of Mexico makes it a federal issue.
well, it's my understanding they approve all changes of water quality criterion that DEP passes, meaning when DEP passes regulations, when they issue the program that we are able to operate under is called the National Pollution Discharge Elimination System Program, NPDS program. It's a federal program that's been delegated to the state of Florida, and while it's delegated with strings, and so every time DEP proposes a renewed permit, it has to go be reviewed and approved by EPA before DEP can issue it. So they keep the strings tied to it for sure. Yeah.
Any other questions?
What was the cost of your pipeline?
Cost right now, of course we haven't built it yet, the current cost is $65 million. That wastewater treatment improvement we're about to make, looking at the north side of 40 million right now.
Yeah, what was the decrease in the amount of, the percentage of the decrease when you put the extra 2 washing stations on? Does that create a better wastewater when you get done with that?
It absolutely does, and one of our big focuses has been on color, or which Blackwater rivers are naturally colored, but the tannins, believe it or not, coming in with our wood, create color in our wastewater too. And if you read any of those old studies, you know that the impact of seagrass at the mouth of the Thin Holloway, based on the excessive color being added by the pulp mill, was having an impact. And that was focused on reducing another 40,000 pounds a day of equivalent color in order to meet our color standards by those additional washers.
So then what you discharge will be a lot cleaner than it was.
It absolutely is today. That lower estuary today is meeting standards. The real issue continues to be that now the freshwater, this $100+ million that's been spent over the past 20 years has addressed those mouth issues already. Yes, sir.
You had a question, sir?
Yes. Recently we went to Maine, and the paper companies up there have they have tours of the plants. Does your plant have these tours, and if so, why are they not advertised?
Well, we do tours for student groups, universities, and on occasion local government groups. But just as a matter of scheduling tours when somebody asks for a tour, no, we don't normally do that, because we run a business and there's a lot of it's a manufacturing facility. Safety is always the highest value of us, and so we have to coordinate those things very carefully.
Right.
I just worry about, which I'm sure y'all done extensive studies and have scientific proof, but I just worry about our estuaries, I worry about our oysters, I especially worry about our clam industry in Cedar Key.
Absolutely.
There's no adverse effect from this. I mean, I understand that we're treating the water, getting a more refined product, but there's also the natural process of where it was being discharged now, and then as it made its way through the river system, it was being filtered, naturally filtered. Getting that much closer to the Gulf, and then, you know, heaven forbid something tragic happened, now we've exposed everybody south of y'all's region. You know, so that's, I'm sure there's processes in place to keep that from happening.
There's monitoring. We also, it's interesting, those blackwater type of streams don't, by the way, not much filtration at all. You know, we've done the balance of what's going up and down. There is a conversion of ammonia nitrogen to nitrate in the river that does happen. So there's an oxygen change that happens based on what's called nitrogenous VOD. But that's exactly why EPA added this major $40 million wastewater project, is to exceed everything the natural process is doing within that wastewater before it can be relocated. So, you know, there very much has been a focus on making sure that there's no impact, you know, down outside in the coastal area, only improvements.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions?
Thank
you all for
you.
your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you all very much.
Mr. Weatherford.
Very good presentation.
What's that?
Alright, we'll try to make this pretty quick. Good morning, board. Good morning. A couple things I want to ask, and maybe we can do both of them at the same time. One of them is adoption of resolution of 2016-028, establishing animal service committee and establish procedures for committee for appeals or dangerous dog classifications. And two, the appointments of members of animal services committee. Okay, and what this is going to do, we've had a committee in the past, and one of the members actually had retired, and several other ones. I think it said it's up for renewal every 4 years. So we've had a couple of situations where animals that we've got that have come in our facility that we feel like that some of them might need to be deemed dangerous. So what I'm asking is we need to form this committee, and then I would like to request the persons I would like to have on this committee.
All right. We're gonna do this together. Do you want to tell us who the members you were asking to appoint are?
Yes, sir. Be Mr. Wilbur Dean, Assistant to the County Coordinator, Bob Levesque, President of Levy Animal Friends, and Dr. Kathy Fleck, Veterinarian, President of Sheltering Hands, all who meet the requirements set out for the resolution.
I'm assuming you contacted these folks and they all accept it.
Yes, sir.
What's the pleasure of the board?
I've seen the committee put together what we had to do on our chief justice, because the same reason. The committee is the way to go. In my book, I think you're doing the right thing, David.
Yes, sir.
And I'd like to make a motion we pass that minute.
So we have a motion to adopt resolution 2016-28, establish an animal services committee, as well as approval of the 3 members. We have a motion by Commissioner Joyner and a second by Commissioner Brooks. Is there any further discussion?
I do.
Yes, ma'am. No.
On page 2. The 5th paragraph. Ms. Brown, can you just explain to us why we don't have domestic animals on there too?
Sure. What
what this, the kinds of things that this committee's gonna do is they're gonna hear appeals of two different issues. The one that Ms. Lilly pointed out is when there is a dog that has not been declared dangerous, and the animal control department needs to euthanize it because of an attack and a severe injury or death for human. That language comes directly from the statute. The legislature actually just revamped these statutes this past year. They didn't make them a lot clearer, but we're working the best we can with them. Where the domestic dogs or other domestic animals attacks come in is actually when the animal control officer wants to declare the animal dangerous. And there's three different situations that they say you can declare these dogs dangerous, and one of those includes 2 attacks on humans or other domestic animals. So that's where those come in. We can't insert that here because the legislature said this is not what's allowed. So it's just an attacks on humans, dogs that have not been declared yet.
David, what's the rule on protecting your livestock? I thought if a dog was attacking your livestock on your property, you had the right to.
The farm statute says that any livestock that is helpless and can't defend itself, that you do have the right to take all measures to protect them, whether it be.
I just want to make sure I was clear on that. Yes. That's what I've always thought.
Right.
But if you're not,
Yes, ma'am, I understand.
Yeah.
But I wanted to clarify that we are, the property owner is allowed to protect their livestock. Are there any other questions?
I guess I do have a question. You may, whenever you were just talking, you said on second attack?
that's when you want to declare them dangerous, that has to be.
Yeah.
Yes.
The legislature should have the second attack program.
Well, I'm taking Tallahassee and turn them loose.
There are other situations, like what we've got now facing, the department is where there's another situation that they allow you to make a declaration when they have been coming in a menacing manner, they don't even have to hurt it.
Right.
So that there's other options in there, that's not the only one, but.
Let's go ahead.
Just my thought, I mean, you have an animal that attacks an individual. By gosh, the second time that sucker attacks, I would, if it's resulting in death, then,
What if the first time results in death?
well, I mean, yeah, that's.
If they haven't
That's
been
kinda
declared
where I'm-
dangerous, then you use the other statute.
Right.
Okay.
To have them euthanized. It's just if there's a domestic animal involved, you cannot euthanize them on that other statute. And then either determination whether to euthanize them or declare them dangerous, those are what are getting appealed to this committee. If the animal owners choose to appeal.
Okay.
And
Thank you for making that clear.
Yeah, that was my question. If
The second time.
I have a dog that's across the road, I'm handicapped, and I'm already threatened by him because he gets out. If he attacks me and if I can't kill him, y'all better the first time, I'm sorry. But that's my question, is there a chance that this animal's going to be put down, because it is a vicious animal. I know it's vicious, and so does she, because it's already attacked the neighbor's dog, not once but twice, and she's been wrote up for it. So if it attacks, this is going to be a third time that it comes at me. I'm hoping there is a law that it can be euthanized and not have to go through a whole bunch of things.
And we do have a form, and a lot of people, if the owner surrender this animal, that gives us the right to do what we feel fit. In most cases, if we have something like that, we do try to humanely do that. All right. Yes, ma'am.
How often is that committee gonna meet?
It depends on the cases we have, right, as needed, like if we deem animals dangerous, then they have the right to appeal, then that's when the committee will meet and listen to the appeal, and then.
Within a day of getting
I think it's gonna be within probably 10 days at least, yes ma'am, now we're.
So you'll have control of the animal during that period?
Yes ma'am. In this case, we definitely do.
And the statutes provide if animal control doesn't have control, then the person who does still has to keep that
Follow.
animal,
In guidelines.
confined by the
Right.
guidelines of the animal
Dangerous
control, so,
dog, right.
so that, some guarantees that it'll at least be confined.
And for some of y'all that's not familiar, on these dangerous dogs, they will have a confined pen 6 foot high, they will have a slab of concrete under it, and they will have
Unless
a
they
roof.
get a variance.
Right.
Yeah. No. they
Well,
don't
not
have
if it's a
variances
dangerous
for
dog. If I
pets.
deem it dangerous, then no, they have to follow them guidelines.
As long as there are 2 levels of appeal. They can appeal to this committee, and then if they don't like that decision, they can appeal to the circuit court. So there is time added to it.
But haven't dogs climbed out of that?
So you have a,
It's a
Not-
roof on
not
it too.
if it had a roof on it, no ma'am.
Cage.
Yeah.
and then there's other limitations. They have to be microchipped or tattooed. They have to have a muzzle if they're out of that enclosure. They can't be out of the enclosure unless it's in the supervision of an adult. There's several of them. If they move to another county, they have to contact their animal control and meet their requirements. If they sell or transfer the dog, the determination goes with that dog. They don't get to sell it and then say that dog's not dangerous.
And that's why this committee is important, because there's several animals out there that do fit these guidelines.
So that stuff continues on, does that stuff continue on with your microchip?
Right, yeah.
That's, okay. Mr. Sheffield.
David, the whole reason behind the committee is a case like a call.
Mm-hmm.
He can file the paperwork.
Right.
And have the committee meeting. Am I correct?
She would have to meet with me and we have to.
Just, you don't hear it much, but occasionally on the news, it's another kind of animal. Does this apply just to dogs?
That's all the board adopted for us.
And the
We're only,
statute only applies to dogs.
handles for dogs, yeah. FWC, right, am I correct?
No, Ms. Sheffield, it doesn't apply to your neighbors.
That's one of the animals, but.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Joyner and a second by Commissioner Wilkes. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you, David.
Ms. Connie.
Good morning. Good morning. Yeah.
Today I come, and ask for board approval. It's time to submit our application for our transportation disadvantaged equipment and trip and equipment grant. The grant this year is in $474,013, and that is a 9 out of 10. So our, this period of funding will be ended July 1st of this year and run to June 30th of next year.
You have a 10% match in your budget.
Yes, ma'am.
I make a motion to approve that. I'm as presented.
We have a motion by Commissioner Joyner, a second by Commissioner Meeks. Is there any further discussion? Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, is it an increase, decrease, or the same as
It's a little bit of an increase.
Oh, I recommend the move.
Is there any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna skip you, Shelly, is that right? And then bring you back at the end, okay. So we're gonna skip over Shelly. Emergency management, John McDonald.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
You might turn that air conditioner down a little bit.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if I'm up in tears or not up there. I swear it's cool.
Morning. Basically, I just want to get acceptance for the 2016-2017 hazards analysis contract. This contract, typically the LEPC used to do it for us. It accounts for $1,359. Basically, it was 1 day of work that they would go out and do. I would rather take that $1,359 and bring it back into our department and do it ourselves for 1 day's worth of work. So
That's what this contract's for.
Motion to approve. Second. We have a motion by Commissioner Stevens, second by Commissioner Rockmeeks. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of the acceptance of the 2016-2017 hazard analysis contract, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
That was a very good compliment to you.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll go back to Shinley now, because you don't want to sit through the workshop.
I'll be out.
Take a recess for a few minutes.
I'll do this ship item right
Okay.
here. This is just a motion to approve subordination agreement for Terran Eater's ship purchases systems case. And, it's your typical subordination of mortgage. They're refinancing, they're getting a lower interest rate, lowering your payments, so it's went through the legal department review, and, staff just requests the board approve a motion to. Subordination agreement.
We have a motion by Commissioner Rockmeeks and second by Commissioner Rooks. Is there any further discussion? Sorry, Stephen Rooks, whatever. My left ear's looking better than my right ear today. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
And
Ladies first. Ian White.
okay, ding. All right, the next, I'll be really brief with, the next one's just informational purposes only. As you know, we're modifying the comp plan to meet all the new state requirements, that are due to be adopted December 1st, 2016. And this coming December. And the elements you have in are your infrastructure, public schools, facility, capital improvement element. A majority of these changes, like I explained before, were just reorganizing, making it more efficient, putting items that should be together, and changing any type of reference to old outdated laws and updating them. In the infrastructure element, I think there's not too much to put in there. I just cleaned up some confusion. There's a new requirement that within 18 months of adoption of a regional water supply plan, that's what the water management districts do, that we will have to amend our comprehensive plan and identify alternative and traditional water supply projects and conservation measures, and then incorporate a work plan for a 10-year planning period for development of water supply projects that's projected to meet the new population trends. So that was added in there. We have to do a potable water level service now. That's a new requirement, and that's in here, and it's put in, and I ran it by the water management district, and we use the requirements that are in University Oaks, which is 150 gallons per person per day. So it's just, we just put that in there. And that's basically just cleaning up language and stuff in your infrastructure element. If you have any questions, I'm just gonna jump to the next one. The next one was capital improvement, and I moved some things around in there. Requirements changed for the state that we no longer have to have is show I guess every 3 years, you're supposed to have the money identified for projects in your capital improvement, your 5-year scheduled improvements. Those are no longer required, so we took the language out and changed that. Added the potable water supply to your level of service table in the capital improvement element. And we added public schools back in there since we're doing concurrency, and that should have been there to begin with. So there's a couple of things that are just tidying up that should have been there that weren't in there before. And basically that's pretty much it. There's a lot of things that change, and 9J5 was repealed, so there's things that are no longer required, and I took those out of the element, especially when we get to the last element, the public school facilities element. We deleted stuff that's no longer required and cleaned that language up.
since we're going ahead and keeping concurrency for public schools. Minor changes, mostly for this element, on page 11 of 15, there's a bullet, it's talking about needing, mitigation for proportionate share. The very last bullet says relocatables shall not be accepted as a means of proportionate share mitigation. I'm still waiting to hear back from the state, but the planning commission recommended that we just take away the shall not, and put relocatables may be accepted as a means. That state law is changed, and now we can use relocatables to meet that, goal, so we don't have to say shall not, we can say may, and I'll get it from the public schools. Their input on that. So there's some redundant things, and I just deleted them, and they're already in another element, so we don't need to repeat it. So that's basically just an overview of the changes. So just for your information from what we did for the planning commission. So if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. No?
Just seems like a lot of just cleaning up of old language and.
Yeah, and making sure it's meets the requirements. We go through all the new state laws, and the next elements that are coming before you guys, I'll be taking them in June to the last 4 elements to the planning commission, and then I'll bring them back to you all in June. And then we'll need some time to make sure everything's tidied up and the maps and everything tied together, and then it'll come to you all, well, it'll come to the planning commission in one packet, and then to you all in another packet, so still have a little bit more time left.
Ms. Cannon.
Mr. Chairman, to which element does, Levy County transportation disadvantage program for?
It's in the transportation circulation element.
And has that already been reviewed by the planning commission?
Yes, and I took your comments from the meeting here last, you had a comment on that, remember? You wanted it to be, what was it, strictly, or, I forget, pursue funding?
Pursue more funding, aggressively pursue funding.
Aggressively, or something like that, so we put the language in for you, and it's gonna go back, so, this hasn't been adopted yet, we still have to put it all together in one packet, and just come back. Okay?
All right. Anybody have any questions? Mr. Sheffield, I'll have to split y'all up, man.
Just clarify, under the, basically the septic tank thing, private package treatment plants. Where are we at here? Page 11.
Of which element, of the infrastructure?
Yeah,
Okay.
at the bottom of the page.
Mm-hmm.
Just, does that say that septic tanks are okay under certain circumstances, or?
Well, yeah, the proposed is to delete the word owner occupied. It was a little bit confusing, and this is to serve all residential developments, because not all residential development is single family. It could be duplexes, it could be higher density types of residential development. So I just changed this for clarification. So private package treatment plants and residential single family developments within your MSDs, which are the areas surrounding all the cities and towns that are slated for more intense development. Those, if you go on to read, those to serve residential single family developments, including mobile home developments, shall be prohibited unless compelling information exists to demonstrate that the lack of a packaged wastewater treatment plant poses a significant health or environmental problem for which there is no other feasible solution. And Levy County may allow private packaged treatment plants to serve residential development in municipal service districts on a case-by-case basis. And I think this stems from some past issues that the county had. Well, you all might want to say,
The county's had to take over certain things in the past, and that's why that is in there. And it should go on to say that we require them to have post bonds, security bonds, in case the county has to take them over, because the state statutes say that the local government in charge shall take them over. And then we have to provide services then there and take it over, then we're gonna have some money in order to operate. I mean, we had to take over University Oaks, and that's been
right.
a nightmare from day
So
one.
similar to the water treatment plant.
and
So,
water.
yeah, we're having to take over,
Don't
sir.
look down and we own us over here, we get that person cheap on TV.
But anyway, we've had to take them over in the past,
Right.
and it's been a huge expense to the
Right.
people.
So essentially looking at the same thing, like I said, the university, Oaks and Manatee, the water treatment systems, just same thing for a sewer, if Case
If
County
there
has
was
to take it over.
A development that had a packaged treatment plant.
Right.
I don't think we have any residential developments in the county. I know that there are some package plants down in Inglis and Yankeetown. The shopping center has a.
We've got one out there on the 320, on the left-hand side, that mobile home park out there, has water and sewer.
Oh, it used to be Oak Ridge out there. Oak something.
Yeah, there's a lot out there, and they're doing a very good job with it.
That's 339, it's not too bad.
That's on 339.
331 out there on 320, on Manatee Springs.
Springside.
The old hideaway in Springside.
Hideaway,
Well,
Springside.
we've already got Springside's water system. No? No.
Almost, but not
Almost.
Almost they are.
Sewer plant. So I know across the river, there's some on the Citrus County side at that big RV park has a package plant right there on the river. Overflows. Anyway.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, then.
Thank you, Commissioner.
All right.
And I'd like to add this into the University Oaks discussion. Chief brought up, Mr. Stevens, that we were working on amending some of those problems with the help of consultant and the water management district. We're gonna stand in recess for 15 minutes to allow people to take care of some business, and then we're gonna come back